Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. There's a new piece of legislation that's been floating around that could dramatically increase our Social Security and veterans benefits like your disability compensation or dependency indemnity compensation and others. It's really important that we pay attention to this stuff because, quiet mouths don't get fed, right? So we need to be a group that's a little bit louder, and I'm not saying act crazy because that's weird. What I'm saying is send an email to your congressional member, make a phone call, leave a message, even if it's after hours, right? These things tally up and make it to where we're a little more, I guess, heard when it comes to this stuff. Now, I've been talking about COLA for a while, and I'm talking about it more now because we are 2/3 of the way through the numbers that actually are going to calculate this year's cost of living adjustment, our pay increase effectively. Before I jump in too far, I want to throw in a special thanks to Rick Bull 6060. Thank you so much for the super thanks in the comments. I really appreciate it. It really does help the channel. Every bit helps, and I appreciate your support. Thank you so very much. All right, so let's jump into this real quick. I did a video this morning on COLA, different options, different ways that maybe we could realize a better COLA, and the fact that the VA has actually done COLAs internally for different programs like Chapter 35 and VRNE that last year were 6.2%. So that would be great. What if the VA actually had the authority to give out a higher payment to veterans? What if, let's make it easy, VA signed, on this piece of legislation, you mirror the Social Security Administration's COLA plus, 2.5%, right? So if 2.5% becomes COLA, well, then 5% becomes the COLA for veterans. That would be sweet. So anyway, let's jump into it here. I am going to share this article with you. It just came out not too long ago as an updated version, and prior to that it came out April 24th of 2024 with the updated version July 12th, and I want to share it with you here today. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I truly appreciate it. And if you want to support the channel in other ways, consider being a member. You can do that by going to the homepage. You'll see the highlighted members and a join button. Thank you to all you members. I appreciate you so very much. All right, so it's hard to talk that much and not breathe. All right, so the headline is Social Security benefits. And anytime you hear Social Security, insert veterans benefits like disability compensation, dependency indemnity compensation, that type of stuff, because those are affected by COLA, which by law is mirrored from Social Security's adjustment. So anytime you hear Social Security with regard to COLA, just insert veteran stuff. So the headline, Social Security benefits could be dramatically changed under new bill. And moving into it here, a newly proposed bill introduced by Arizona Representative Ruben Gallego could change how the yearly cost of living adjustment to Social Security benefits is calculated, potentially boosting checks for retirees and other recipients. The proposed legislation, called the Boosting Benefits and COLAs Act, is an attempt to amend Title II of the Social Security Act to require the Commissioner of the Social Security to use the Consumer Price Index for Elderly, the CPI-E. Now remember, currently we utilize the CPI-W. They're calling to switch it to the CPI-E. From my understanding, and I don't know if they're going to say it in this, my understanding is over a 20-year period, we, as recipients of COLA adjustments, right, increases to your benefits pay, would have averaged out about 0.25% higher. 0.25% by itself doesn't sound like much, but take a quarter and then another and another and another and another. It's kind of like compound interest. It's going to build upon itself, which is, it's the snowball rolling down the hill thing. All right, moving on. So utilize the CPI-E to calculate the yearly cost of living adjustment, better known as COLA, instead of the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers. Should the CPI-W be higher than the CPI-E, the first should be used instead of the latter. Okay, nice. So basically it's an either or thing, it sounds like. So utilize the CPI-E, but if the CPI-W is higher, then you would utilize that, at least according to this. It's a weird way to say it. Should the CPI-W be higher than the CPI-E, the first should be used instead of the latter. Well, the first was CPI-W, so then that's it. So it's sweet. So that's a safety net. So now you know that you can only be higher than what you currently would be receiving under CPI-W. But primarily, the CPI-E has shown to be a higher indice as far as adjustments would be concerned. Moving on through the article, the annual COLA is currently based. Let me stop here real quick. If you agree with this, which obviously already makes sense, it's better than it already is. So, I mean, there you go. Remember that it is called the Boosting Benefits and COLAs Act. Boosting Benefits and COLAs Act. Reach out to your legislator. Whether there's time to make anything happen now, probably not. But throw it out there. Let them know that you're paying attention to what's going on. And if it's not this cycle, next cycle, get on board with something like this. The Boosting Benefits and COLAs Act. All right. Jumping back into the article, the annual COLA is currently based on the percentage increase in the CPI-W between the third quarter of the previous year and the third quarter of the current year. They're talking about calendar year. Sometimes you're going to hear fiscal year. It's basically July, August, September. If there's no increase, there's no COLA. The idea is to adjust Social Security benefits so they can keep pace with inflation. In 2024, the COLA was 3.2. A much smaller boost than the previous year when the adjustment had been 8.7%. But Gallego argues that this formula doesn't consider the specific costs that retirees have to face, which, by the way, is something that the Senior Citizens League has been pushing for, I don't even know, decades. So, you know, this isn't a new thing, but it's one of those things where you go, hey, that's a really smart idea, Representative. Wow, you're really on it. Great job. Happy that you figured that out. Now let's act, right? So it's basically calling out that the current formula doesn't take into consideration the specific costs that elderly or retirees or disabled folks have to face, which are different from the rest of American population. For example, medical expenses weigh more heavily on elderly than young people, a number which is reflected in the CPI-E, but not necessarily the CPI-W. Moving on, rising costs mean, now, so he's from Arizona, so he's going to mention Arizona, of course. So, but it would be a national thing. Rising costs mean Arizona seniors on Social Security see the real value of their benefits decrease. Ask anybody who's been on Social Security for more than a decade, and they can tell you that too. Gallego said in a written statement last week after introducing the legislation, my new bill puts more dollars in the pockets of Social Security recipients to pay their bills, get their medications, and pay for housing. It's only right. Arizona's seniors earned their Social Security benefits. Newsweek contacted Gallego's office for comment by email on Wednesday morning. According to Roman Ullman, president of AFSCME, I don't know, Arizona's Retirees Chapter 97. Oh, okay, there you go. The current way to calculate the annual COLA does not account for the inflation seniors see in healthcare costs. He said in a written statement, it's important that the COLA reflects how inflation impacts seniors so that we can pay our bills and our monthly Social Security checks stay strong. A companion bill to Gallego's Boosting Benefits and COLAs Act was introduced in the Senate in March by Senator Bob Casey, or Cassie, I'm not sure, of Pennsylvania. If passed, the proposed legislation would apply to determinations made with respect to the cost of living computations quarters ending on or after September 30th, 2024. So it's for next year. So that's pretty sweet, right? So this is another, there has been multiple. This is not a new idea. I think that for some pieces of legislation, what happens is they incorporate the CPI-E aspect in addition to a bunch of other changes to Social Security and sometimes that stalls the bill because there's too many things that are going on that everybody doesn't agree with. So when you reel it back and you find one thing that everybody can agree on, maybe there's a better chance of making that happen. So with that, my thought here is, look, if you agree, regardless if this bill goes anywhere or not, it's important that you reach out to your legislator, let them know that you support legislation like this and you want them to as well. Now, on the flip side, look, the question really comes down now to, should veterans have a different cost of living adjustment, or the VA calculate it themselves? Is that a harder sell, or is it easier? I'm a fan for anything that's going to increase COLA, our cost of living adjustment, to our benefits, increasing the amount of money that we receive, because I believe that inflation is doing this and all of our adjustments are like this. Sure, they're both going up, but the gap gets bigger the further along you go. So with that, thanks so much. I appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.